Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Colby from Sanitarian Productions, back again with another G.I. Joe action figure review. In this episode, we're taking a look at the G.I. Joe Club.com exclusive figure subscription service Wave 7, Figure 11. And this figure is actually the one I have been most excited about from this entire wave. It's Stalker in his Tundra Assault version. So yeah, this is a cool looking figure. The original vintage line version of this was always one of my favorites once it actually came out. Stalker made an appearance in this costume in the comic series as well, and it kind of caught on with fans and ended up being a really good look for him. It turns out really awesome looking. And I was really excited when they actually announced that they were going to release this in the new modern version. So, yeah, I'm happy about that. So, Tundra Assault Stalker is an awesome figure. And as you can see, it is slightly bigger packaging-wise than most of the figures we've seen in the past. It has to be to account for all this crazy Kayak stuff going on. Anyways, the package itself looks really nice. It's a great looking packaged figure. You can just barely see the artwork here on the side. I always love that image of Stalker there. Go ahead and flip this over to the back. You can see a larger version of that artwork as we were just talking about, along with the file card. And we'll let you go ahead and pause it right now if you would like, and hopefully you can read through some of that. Very cool looking. Flip this back over and start unboxing this thing. So this figure came out, I want to say, in 1989, if my memory is clear. And again, it came in this slightly larger packaging to accommodate this cool Kayak thing. We've had a couple of different characters in the past that have had some kind of like gimmick like this. But this is really the first one that worked really well in my opinion. We had Tracker that had a rubber raft that I actually ended up liking and using a lot, but this one is the one that got the most used. So anyways, we'll flip that over there, and there's the nice picture of Stalker there. Tundra Ranger is what he's listed as, sorry. Tundra Ranger. And this one is going to not go too much of a zoom for the time being until we get all this stuff out of the package. We've got this cool canoe. Kayak canoe. I don't know the terms. We got that Stalker figure itself. Very nice looking. We have, how much of this stuff is, actually none of this looks to be taped together, so that's nice. We've got the Kayak paddle. We've got this secondary communication rig backpack. We've got this connector bar. We have his Tundra assault rifle and a nice Tundra white. We've got this huge big gun to go on the actual Kayak itself. We've got a cool knife. And then we have the figure stand. So very cool looking. Toss that to the side and give you a good look of what's going on here. So yes. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit more to get a little bit better detail here. That might work right there. So we get quite a few accessories here in this particular getup, and I'm excited. Let's start with the figure stand. We got a traditional 25th anniversary figure stand here. The raised G.I. Joe logo, 2 foot pegs, codename on the front, Sgt Stalker. And this is the new Arctic white figure stand that they've been using for the Arctic guys, and it's a nice way of kind of delineating some of these Arctic figures from the traditional black figure stand, but nice little touch. Okay, here let's start with the Kayak paddles. So all of these accessories are actually straight from the original vintage release. It looks like they've not really been retooled much at all. My memory may be a little fuzzy on some of this stuff. The only thing that looks a little bit different to me is this pattern on this connector piece, but we'll get to that here in a second. The paddle itself, it's got some interesting detail work on it. I don't know how well this is going to show up here. It's an all white everything on this, so there is some nice detail work though on it. Some nice little textures on the paddles themselves. You got some nice texture on the handle and some like rivets and things holding that on there. So overall it's a really nice looking paddle. Fits in his hand pretty easily, and then you can just slide that on there till he gets the actual grip itself, and so you can hold on and paddle and do all sorts of cool stuff there. So very nice. It's kind of a bulky accessory, but you know, if you're going kayaking, you got to have a paddle. Let's take a look at the assault rifle. So we get this cool assault rifle here, again in all Arctic white. It's got some nice detail on it. This one's slightly bent, so if that ever happens, you can heat it up with a little bit of warm water and kind of readjust it to fit a little bit better. Some nice detail on it though. Some little textures on the actual handle itself. Some little small details that we're probably not able to pick up really well on this camera, so I apologize for that. We'll try our best here though. There we go. It does look really nice. Very cool looking. Then we've got this cool large knife. Again, it's got some nice details in the handle. A blood groove on the actual blade itself. Very cool looking. The small backpack here, communications thing, actually serves as two purposes, and we'll get into that here in a moment. But just taking a look at the actual backpack itself, again, it does have the larger back peg on it. That's more in line with the vintage release. I don't know why they didn't retool that for use. I guess it's probably too expensive, but that's okay. Some really nice detail work on the actual communications package here on this thing. It looks like, and I'm going to try to see here, the actual back peg itself, it doesn't look like it's quite big enough to hold this. And I'm trying to adjust his parka here to see if I can get in there to it. And I can't really get in there easy, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and pull his head off here and see if we can take this off just to get in here a little bit easier to the back peg. Normally I don't do this with my figures, but in this case I am very curious. Alright, so we got his flak jacket off. You can see the actual peg on his back right there, and it does not fit on his back. So we're going to take a point off for that, but I was expecting that to happen. While we're here, we're going to do the same thing for the big canoe, and again, it is too big to fit on his back peg, so just be aware of that. The original figure, he could actually use that as an actual backpack, which was a nice little touch, but this new version, that's not going to happen. So go ahead and put him back together real quick here. There we go. So yeah, just be aware of that if you have remembrance of that special feature from the vintage line, you're not going to be able to do that here. So that said, we're going to move past it and not dwell on that small little issue, but just something to mention. Next accessory, we've got this cool little connector piece. And what this basically is, it uses the little peg holes to attach the larger canoe with this secondary communication package array. And I'll show you that here in a second. But the actual piece itself has got some decent details here. We've got these lined grooves here and this slightly odd pattern thing on the back side of it. So, interesting. The other accessory we have is this large caliber Gatling gun, heavy machine gun thing. Again, I'm not a weapons guy, so I don't know what the actual model of this thing is. But it's cool. It has a lot of really interesting details on it. It's always been one of those nice guns that I've always liked to use. And it's nice to see it in the new version here as well. This actually will attach to the actual kayak itself. There's this little peg hole in the front, and you just line that peg hole up with the peg and snap it in place like that, and you've got a cool mounted Gatling gun thing on there. Well, not Gatling gun, but heavy machine gun. But you can also just have him carrying this thing around as well, and he can use it as an actual weapon if you would like. And this is something I used to do a lot, was just let him carry that thing around and just shoot people with that, because I've always liked those large caliber weapons. So very cool looking. We'll move on here to the nice kayak. Some very interesting details on it. Again, I'm not a kayak guy, so I got no idea what these things are. But it's got a nice seat in it here for your figure to fit in there. You've got the nice G.I. Joe logo on the top here. You've got the attachment point there for the actual big cannon. Flipping it over to the side, you've got just the actual peg itself, and that's pretty much it. But still very nice. As you can see, we'll try to get this guy to fit in here. You just kind of shoot his legs up front here and just kind of press in on him, and just kind of scoot him in there until he fits in there. And I'm actually really surprised this guy fits, because I was afraid that since these are slightly bigger than the original vintage line, that we would have some problems. But as you can see, he fits very easily and works very nice. So let me just kind of pop him out and pull him out. This is a two-piece thing, so you can always kind of just get your fingers in here and just pop it apart. Maybe not easily, but I'm not going to bother with that. So you can pop that apart if you want to. In this case, there's no need, because the figure fits in there very easily. As far as gearing it up, you'll notice on the back side here with the peg, we've got these lined grooves. We're going to take this cool looking thing here and just line that up like so. Pop that in there until it kind of latches in place. May have to press in on it a little bit to get it to go in there, but it should latch on there. And then you can take this cool secondary piece and just attach it pretty much the same way. Like that. And you've got a stabilizer. And it kind of runs along and just kind of floats in the water, and kind of sits at pretty decent normal levels there. So it is a pretty interesting concept. Whoever designed this thought out pretty well. And then you can also just attach the large cannon gun right there, and that's pretty much what you get for a cool kayak for Tundra Sgt Stalker. Let's move on to the figure itself here. I'll slide this to the other side now. Alright, the figure itself has some really nice details. As you can see, it's got some really cool camouflage here, patterns going on. It's flipping it over to the back, his poncho thing has some really nice details. Got some nice silver highlights on all these buckles everywhere. Very cool looking. His pistol that's kind of molded in there is non-removable, so you can't take that out. It's got some cool belt detail thingies there going on. and some cool boots. Really nice details on all that stuff. So all in all, really cool looking figure. The facial sculpt is really nice. The only thing I would say is that and we've ran into this problem a few times in the past, the eyes are really hard to get right, and in this case, they don't quite work as well as I'd hoped. They're slightly off a little bit, so he's kind of looking in two directions instead of one single direction, but not that big a deal. Also missing a little bit of paint on the side here that I can touch up, so I'm not too worried about that. His cool toboggan thing here is actually removable, so you can pop that off and put it back on there. That's a really cool little feature there. The original vintage line figure, the toboggan was just molded in there, so it was a single piece. So it is kind of nice to have that as a separate accessory, I guess you would say in this case. So all in all, very cool looking. Articulation wise, the head does spin 360 degrees, although the top of his parka here does limit that a little bit. He's got some pretty good up and down motion as well. Standard ball and swivel at the shoulder joints, standard ball and swivel at the elbow joints, and just a swivel at the top of the gloves there. Still pretty nice. We do have the chest twist feature, and he's got some pretty good ab crunch going on there, so that's nice. Standard T-hook at the waist and hips. No mobility issues whatsoever there. He does have double knee joints, and he has one of those weird swivelly rockery thingies at his ankle joint, so he can kind of twist them all the which way around. So all in all, really good articulation on this guy. Yeah, it's a cool looking figure. They did a really good job on all the details on this guy. I don't really see much they did wrong with this one, to be honest with you. The only thing, and it really is a nitpick, is just the fact that he's got a standard back peg and not the enlarged version of that for this thing here. So anyways, what you can do is take his assault rifle there. Unfortunately, you'll have to take his, he doesn't really have a sheath or anything for his knife, so you kind of have to stick it into the side there. Then we fold him up and stick him back into his kayak. And you can either grab a hold of his paddle or stick it in the boat with him. And he's all geared up and can hold all of the accessories, even though the knife is kind of cheating there a little bit, but still it works. It looks really cool too. I'm going to go ahead and take him out here for the remainder so I can get some photos without him in the boat. I may do double photos on this guy and have him in the boat and out of the boat here, so I don't know, we'll see. Anyways, just looking at the figure itself, this is one of the few figures that hits all the right points. They've done everything, almost everything right, and it's enough to get a highly recommended from me. I actually just love this figure, and I'm really impressed with it and really glad that they were able to pull it off and do everything that I was hoping they would do. So if you can, I definitely recommend you pick this guy up. I have a feeling it's probably going to end up increasing in price, so the availability of these are always a little iffy. So pick him up as soon as you can, or else you might have to end up paying a lot more price later on down the road. But definitely go out of your way to pick him up. It's awesome. That's all the time we've got for today, so thanks for watching. Drop some comments down below. Let us know what you think of Sgt Stalker. What do you think about this cool kayak canoe thing? Are you disappointed at all in the fact that it can't double as a backpack? That's really my only concern, nitpick that I have on this thing. But anyways, share your thoughts with the world. Let us all know what you think about it. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Feel free to give us a thumbs up if you dig what you saw today. And be on the lookout for more amazing videos coming down the pipe. Until next time, Yo Joe.